From Maryland reserves. The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the distinguished gentleman and my good friend from Maryland for yielding me the customary 30 minutes. And I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rule before us today provides for consideration for three pieces of legislation that are laser focused on a president who has not been in office for almost 2 years now. Meanwhile, yesterday's CPI reading came in higher than expected, registering an 8.3% year-over-year increase. That's another 40-year high, literally the highest in my lifetime. It's abundantly clear that Democrats are focused on their efforts on political gamesmanship, hoping to distract the American people from the absolute failures of the Biden administration. Let's just go through these bills. The first bill, H.R. 302, makes it even harder for the president to remove insubordinate federal employees in policymaking roles. All this legislation accomplishes is further shielding unelected career bureaucrats from accountability to the American voter who are footing the bill for their salary. The federal government should be responsive to the voters and their elected representatives, not the whims and the ideological leanings of unelected bureaucrats. Additionally, this rule provides for consideration of H.R. 2988, the Whistleblower Protection Improvement Act. Let me start by just saying that the need to protect whistleblowers is one of the most bipartisan points of agreement in Congress. However, this legislation does nothing to protect actual whistleblowers. There's a significant difference lost in this bill between retaliation against legitimate whistleblowers and the consequences in response to unacceptable actions taken by a government employee. Finally, the rule provides for consideration of H.R. 8326, ensuring a fair and accurate Census Act. Yet this bill does everything but ensure a fair and accurate census. Specifically, H.R. 8326 provides the director of the Census Bureau with unprecedented power and authority to make all operational, statistical, and technical decisions for the census. Further, this bill constrains the ability of future censuses to include critical questions, including a citizenship question, ensuring that future censuses will be unfair and inaccurate. So instead of focusing on real-life issues facing everyday Americans, House Democrats this week are focusing on three bills that are completely irrelevant to the multiple crises created by Joe Biden's policies. In fact, two of these bills have already passed in the House of this Congress in larger packages. The failed policies of the far left and the Biden administration have plunged our economy into a recession, and yes, it is a recession. They've stolen wages from the American workforce. They've destroyed seniors' retirement savings, and they've left families with the highest food prices since 1979. Let me repeat that. Grocery prices surged 13% in August, the largest increase in over 40 years. Mr. Speaker, 80% of Americans say that inflation is the most important issue facing the country. But you wouldn't know it by the bills that Democrats are prioritizing and running on the floor this week. I think it's time my Democratic colleagues listen to the people and work with Republicans on real economic solutions rather than doubling down on these dangerous, reckless, out of control spending and far-left policy bills, the same policies that have created the crises that we're now facing. So I urge my colleagues to oppose this rule, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania reserves. The gentleman from